Welcome back to Access Houston on 97.9 The Box.
Good Sunday morning. You're listening to Access Houston. I'm your host, KG Smooth, welcoming a first-timer on the program. It is an honor and a privilege to have the Houston City Council member at large. Ladies and gentlemen, the lovely, intelligent, vivacious, and so definition of black girl magic, Miss Amanda Edwards.
KG
Welcome.
Smooth, I'm going to have you introduce me every time I come somewhere. So, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me
Thank
on,
you
and
for
I'm
being
excited
here.
to be here for the first time.
So listen, I'm gonna tell you how this conversation that we're about to have came about. We just bumped into each other at the Breakfast Club.
That's right.
And you and I and Marcus Davis, shout out to Marcus on a sister station, Magic 102.1 with Sunday Morning Live. We sat there for 2 hours just talking everything, politics mainly, and
everything, yeah.
You know, some city issues and whatnot. And I was like, you have got to come on and let's talk about this so the people can know. So welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. And I just want to applaud you for trying to keep listeners informed and in the know about what's happening on a civic level. It's so often the case that what the people who know what's happening in the city hall or in state government or in federal government, they're behind closed doors and behind some walls. And you're really opening that up and creating a platform for people to engage. So I just want to say thank you for doing that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I tell people this all the time, and I've said it publicly, and I'm not ashamed about it. I purposely use this platform to make us more self-aware.
That's right. And it starts with knowledge, right? So a lot of the times people, formulate opinions based on limited knowledge of something.
Yes.
And so to the extent that you can educate and equip people with the information that they need to know, they can make informed choices.
Indeed.
And so
this is the perfect segue.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of younger people on the end, we got a lot of kids. We're from 12 to about 35. Okay. Can we have a Civics 101, City Civics 101, like how the city works when it comes to city council members down to the mayor, to just how it runs? A lot of people don't know how the train runs.
Absolutely. So first of all, I think what a lot of people don't know is that a lot of what happens to you on a day-to-day basis is actually coming from local politics and local government. And anything from your trash, the delay of trash, to things that impact kind of the long-term trajectory of what's happening in the city, our finances, just a litany of things, who's coming to the city in terms of business ventures and opportunities that we push. Those things are happening at the local level. And so as a city council member, I'm one of 16. I'm actually one of the at-large city council members, which means I cover the entire city of Houston. So I always joke and say a tiny little district known as the whole city of Houston. But I cover that area and get a chance to represent all Houstonians. And so when I say represent, we meet on a weekly basis. So we vote on measures relating to contracts for Harvey, you name it. We are voting on housing programs, just a litany of things that come up that require our city budget to be utilized. And then we also make decisions, pass ordinances, some things relating. We just pulled an ordinance. It didn't get considered this past week, but it was supposed to be, which was smokeless tobacco limitations, just different things like that. We make those decisions at the city council level. We work in concert with the mayor. That's Mayor Sylvester Turner. He and I actually came in at the same time in 2016, and we get a chance to try our best to run the city. And so sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't. But I think ultimately the goal is to move all of our Houston communities forward. And my goal is really to move them forward in a way where Houston can be the place where the Gulf Coast and the world's future meet. And I mean that. I know that sounds like very lofty, but really looking at opportunities for our economy, looking at opportunities to make sure we're building the city out in a way that's going to be enticing and usable and friendly to pedestrians and walkable places and things like that, but also making sure that we're taking care of our residents in a very deep way. And so instead of it just being what you typically see, which is I come around election time, let's have a real relationship where there's an exchange of ideas, there's a relationship of trust, and that's how you get leadership that can serve you. In addition to voting on things, it's our job also to do our outreach with our communities and constituents. And so we get constituent calls, anything from, the pothole in front of someone's house to things like I haven't recovered since Harvey. So the spectrum of calls and concerns that we get are extremely varied, but it's an important space to operate in, because for a lot of people, we're the only elected officials they can see. That we're not in Austin. We live and govern in the same exact place. So you can't go to the grocery store. If you're on council, you go to the grocery store, you're seeing your constituents. And our constituents are our bosses, So we've got to be responsive to the people.
And I think that's what a lot of people tend to forget, that you all work for us.
That's right. And you shouldn't forget that.
Right.
So I say that all the time, too. Don't just let somebody come into your neighborhood and sweet talk you around election time. It's important for people to understand what that relationship is, and it's predicated on trust and accountability, and an ability to execute, of course.
Yes.
And so if you went around election time and you said to somebody, I'll give you this and I'll make sure that, or I'll fight for your X, the question you should be asking is, well, have you delivered the X and the Y and the Z that you talked to me about? And if not, why not? And when? What time? And where are you delivering that?
Well,
right?
Listen, if only those questions were asked during 2016.
And I tell people this, and I'll let you in on a secret. The squeaky wheel is what gets the grease. And so a lot of the time with elected officials, if they're not getting calls about something, they're going to assume that issue is not problematic to the community. And so if you aren't opening your mouth and articulating what the concern is, what the issue is, that's also part of the breakdown of how government works. And so we have an opportunity for people to come up and voice their opinions or concerns, thanks, whatever, on Tuesdays, every Tuesday, in fact, at 1:30 at City Hall. You have to call the city secretary, but you can sign up and talk about absolutely whatever you want.
See, that's good information to know, and we're going to come back to that. You're listening to Access Houston. We're talking to City Council Member at Large Amanda Edwards. We just talking this Sunday morning. And so it's safe to say, especially for the kids that are listening that's taking government or civics, City Council is kind of like the Congress, where, you all vote and you work in concert, as you said, in conjunction with the mayor.
Yes, we have a very strong form of mayor government, but yes, we vote every week. We meet, we deliberate on items that are on the agenda and have to make decisions.
Indeed. Now, let's talk about something that is just absolutely fascinating to me when we had this conversation at the Breakfast Club.
Okay.
You all just started the Houston Harvey Housing Program, and I was just incredulous when you said that you all just started the project because you just got the money from the federal government. And I was like, a whole year and a half later, you're just getting the money that was promised in the summer of 17?
Yeah, it is crazy. In August of 2017 is when, of course, Harvey hit our city, and the rainfall from Harvey hit our city. And I believe the government passed measures that fall. So we're talking about basically a year and a half, a little bit shy of that, but a year and a half of waiting on federal support directly to be paid out for housing programs. Now, people individually were able to apply for FEMA relief and various things like that, but we've just gotten $1.17 billion in monies that can be used from HUD, which is the Housing and Urban Development Department of the federal government. It's called Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Dollars. And those dollars are going to be used in a variety of ways, and we're just now getting access to those dollars. And that program just started in January. So it is very hard for me to even tell you this and believe it myself, and have gone to Washington trying to figure out who is this system designed for exactly, because it's certainly not designed for someone who has lost everything, who may be in crisis, who might be encountering immediate decisions after they've lost everything, and still we don't have answers. We don't have resources. And I want to say thank you to the limitless number of people from all over the country, all over the world, who, lent to us and gave us philanthropic support. Yeah. I want to say thank you to our nonprofits. I want to say thank you to those who were leaders in the community who stepped up and supplemented these needs that our community and residents have, because we didn't have the money. So for a year and a half, we've been relying on our nonprofits. We've been relying on our philanthropists to assist people. Individuals have been emptying out their savings accounts. And I think our story hasn't really been told. I think Houstonians, we have a very can-do spirit, and we like to do it ourselves. And I think people saw that on television after Harvey.
I saw it myself. I was there. So that weekend, and I was so angry and upset that I wasn't here to help. Yeah. I had flew home that weekend because that was the weekend of the Floyd Mayweather Conor McGregor fight.
Oh, I know, because a lot of people got stuck watching that fight.
And so my brothers back home, I'm from Dayton, Ohio, they said, "Oh, we're going to throw a watch party." I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to fly home for the watch party." Like, what? So that Friday, our plane was grounded for a while, and I was like, "Harvey, you are not about to mess up my trip." So got home to Dayton, Ohio, but couldn't get back. No. I stayed there for 9 days and watching it on TV, just because I got to be honest, Houston honestly restored my faith in humanity, because just a couple of weeks ago, it was that mess that was happening in Charlottesville. And so after that, and then a young lady dies, and just, my spirit and on humanity was just, I was like, what have we become?
Yeah, because
and then seeing Houston, help Houston.
Yes.
Councilmember Edwards. There was a scene on CNN. It was an old white man in a boat. I don't know, some Middle Eastern folks, they had the turbans and, and the beards. And then there was an Asian lady that was holding a cat. And then a black guy that was service member. It was Houston. It was H-Town for real.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God, this is great. But really, really, people don't want to see that.
Right.
But Houston was just amazing in that. They did their thing.
And I want to thank everybody. And now it's our turn to try to help. And I know it feels a little late.
It feels a little late.
It feels a little late, and it's here. And I have great news for those who might have spent monies out of their pocket or through other means, that if they kept those receipts, they can be eligible for reimbursement. So I'm going to repeat that again. So if you kept your receipt, you can be eligible for reimbursement for some of the programs. So that is the Houston Housing Program, and I'm going to give you some information for our listeners to be able to take down. The telephone number is a hotline. It's called it's 832-393-0550, and the website is recovery.houstontx.gov. I'm going to repeat all of it. The hotline number is 832-393-0550, and the website is recovery.houstontx.gov. And that's going to give you all of the eligibility requirements for the various programs. And we have so many. There's a homeowners assistance program. And under that program, that's where you can be eligible for reimbursements. There's mortgage assistance. There's all kinds of things that can help to offset some of the challenges people have faced and are facing post-Harvey. We also have a small rental program for property owners. If you have 1 to 7 units, that's considered a small rental property, and there's money available for them. We just passed the guidelines for that. We have wraparound services, so case management. We have a litany of things that we now have access to resources for that our residents now can have. And so homeowners, reconstruction, repair, all kinds of things, new construction, buyouts, all kinds of things, but they have to first go with a very peculiar process. So it's a 2-step process. The first is a survey that they have to fill out. Mm-hmm. And by visiting that website, or by calling that number, they can gain access to that survey. But after filling out that survey, they will then be required to then turn in the survey and get invited to apply. So I'm going to repeat that because it's a little confusing. So you fill out the survey, you turn it in, and then you're invited to apply. So the application comes after a survey. So I just want to make that clear because it's not intuitive. Normally you would just pick up an application. We also have 4 sites around the city, and those are available if you have questions or concerns, or you have a complicated set of paperwork that you want somebody to help you work through. And I'm going to give you those locations. The first of which is the Northwest Housing Resource Center, and that's located at 13101 Northwest Freeway, Suite 101. I'm going to repeat that. 13101. I'm sorry. It's 13101 Northwest Freeway, Suite 101. And that's the Northwest location. The next one is the Northeast Housing Resource Center. And that address is 9551 North Wayside Drive. The next one is the Southeast Housing Resource Center, and that is 11550 Fuquay Street, 3rd floor. And then finally, you have Southwest Houston, and that address is 6464 Savoy Drive, Suite 110. So if people have questions or concerns, there are people who are working. Again, you visit our Harvey website and you can see what the time frames are. They're all different hours each day of the week, except Sunday is the only day that it's closed.
Okay, and we'll repeat that information at the end of the conversation. Let's switch gears. You got a couple of great events that are coming up on Friday, February the 15th. The Opportunity Zones.
Yes.
Talk
what
about
are
that.
Opportunity Zones? Absolutely. Every time I say something about it or that word, that term is mentioned, people have a very puzzled look on their face because they have no idea what that is. Well, let me share this. And one thing that's really important to me is that we don't just tell residents about something when it's too late or when they're the object of some decision that's already been made. We like to bring our residents, and that's one of my goals, is bring residents to the table up front. Okay. And so let them in on the planning sessions or in the discussions. And so right now we have a program that's happening nationally, and it's actually a federal set of tax incentives that came out of the 2017 tax plan. So if you remember all the debate around the tax plan, well, this is a bipartisan measure of the tax plan that basically gives tax incentives to people who are trying to invest capital gains. And they say, if you invest these capital gains dollars in a select set of neighborhoods or communities known as opportunity zones, you can get tax breaks, essentially. And so there's lots of money out there, people looking for those types of tax breaks on their capital gains. And so the governor of Texas, all states participated. The governor of Texas designated the opportunity zones based on census tracts. For our area, we have over 100 that have been designated in Harris County. And now that means that dollars may begin to pour into those communities in the form of real estate investment. So you can build new construction, or you can invest in an existing structure if you're substantially rehabbing that structure. You can invest in businesses, and I say invest, I mean not loans, but equity investments in business if those businesses are issuing new stock or newer businesses. And so there are some parameters that are set forth, and those businesses have to do 50%, according to the current regulations, 50% of their commercial activity in the area. 70% of their physical assets have to be in that area, in that zone. But it carves out some parameters, and these are proposed regs, so these can change. But as of now, those are the rules. And so those are the parameters. But essentially, what you could see is something very positive in terms of investment, or the flip side of this, or you can see displacement, right? So what stops somebody from coming into a neighborhood and say, I'm just gonna,
I want to take it up
that's
now.
right, let me just buy all this land up, or buy all of this, and it's got a low tax, it's at a low tax base. Let me go ahead and buy this up. And now all of a sudden I'm going to get these tax breaks for buying these properties, and I'm going to convert this into whatever I want.
Right.
And so that's our challenge. In Houston, we don't have zoning. And so something like that could happen fairly swiftly if you're not careful. And so I've been attending meetings all over the country to talk about this. How can we get in front of this issue such that the investments that come into our communities are actually investments that benefit our communities? So instead of it just being the case where you see investment and that means it's time for you to go,
right?
Investment that comes in that's actually friendly to the community. I think you can have both.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be tricky to get both, but I think it can be done if we really work hard at it and we've got sound investment.
Indeed.
So one of the things we're going to be doing is getting some feedback from the community. We want to hear, instead of the city of Houston is going to be, I'm working on getting the city of Houston to put together a prospectus document which says, here's our city's vision. This is what we'd like to see investment in as a whole in our opportunity zones. And so that could be, projects, that can be types of things that we want to see investment in. It could be affordable housing, all kinds of things. Yeah.
And this is on Friday, February 15th.
So, yeah.
And then also you guys are going to be talking about transportation as well.
That's actually a double header. So Friday, Friday, February 15th, we have two events. So the first event is going to be in collaboration with LISC, and it's going to be discussing what these opportunity zones are. So we encourage anybody who wants to learn more or who wants to say what they want in their community or don't want in their community to come, because we're going to be documenting all of that for purposes of putting out some guidance to the investors. The other thing is that's going to be at the Council on Recovery, which is located at 303 Jackson Hill. And that starts at 10 o'clock, but we're asking people to arrive at 9:30 if they want refreshments.
Cool. And then canvassing, because I want to cover it all before we got.
Okay. So transit is later that day. We'll talk about that in a moment. But transit is at 1 o'clock at the Houston Galveston Area Council offices. That's located at
good people. They've been on the program many times.
Timmons Lane. Yeah. And so that's to talk about the vision for transit. But let's get back to canvassing, because I think that's where you want to go.
Yes.
So canvassing, we'll be actually canvassing 2 times, but we want to put a lot of effort in our March 23rd canvassing, and we'll be going out door to door. We've put in some money from this Harvey resources I mentioned to you. We've put in money to have some canvassing done, and what we'd like to do is mobilize volunteers to come out for the big march for recovery. And so we would be in concert with my office and in concert with the housing department staff who are going to be working on this, and whomever else wants to come out. I know I'm going to see you, KG.
Yeah, absolutely. You know it already.
But I want to see us coming out and making sure that there is no Houstonian whose door has been unknocked or left unknocked. We want to make sure, and a lot of residents right now, if they still need help, they're embarrassed. They're not really proactively seeking it out anymore. They've made do. It's been 1.5 years.
Yeah.
And so we've got to knock and say, hey, guess what? I know it's late, guys, but we've got some resources for you. You still have those receipts, and try to get them signed up to become eligible, because, again, nobody budgeted for Harvey.
Right.
So if you have an ability to be reimbursed for things you had to do, let's take advantage of that. Yeah, and so we want to make sure some of our most vulnerable populations have an opportunity. So if you're interested in joining us for our canvassing on March the 23rd, contact our office. It's 832. I've given you a lot of numbers. 832-393-3012.
And it's all good, because all of this information will be up at theboxhouston.com, so you can get the link to recovery.houstontx.gov and to replay this amazing conversation that we're having. So we're going to make that available for all of them. You got to come back.
Okay, you tell me when. Don't make me make this a regular thing.
Yeah. Why not? Why not? I mean, the concerns of it, and what would really be. We'll talk off air. I'm having thoughts. My brain is going.
You naming the show already?
Already. Listen, the Houston Harvey Housing Recovery Program it is here. And the money alas, it is here. And for more information, take this number down right now. We'll give you a second. 832-393-0550. That's 832-393-0550 for the Houston Harvey Housing Recovery Program. Or you can log on to recovery.houstontx.gov. That's recovery.houstontx.gov. And it'll take you there. There's a 2-step process. You have to fill out the survey, and then you'll have to turn in the survey, and then you'll get an invite for the application, and then you fill out the application. So
see, I know you're going to be a leader on our canvassing. You know the process in and out
already. I mean, hey, this is important stuff. People, when this happened to this great city, I was like, it's going to be at least a decade.
Yes, and
before we fully recover.
And let me tell you, I used to live in New Orleans after Katrina. It takes a long time for a city to recover. So for people who feel stuck, please understand you are not alone. Please understand you are not alone. And don't be afraid. Don't be ashamed. So many people are living without flooring, without walls. They got stuck. Something got complicated. We have help for those things. Yeah. And like sometimes it's an issue of, I'll give you an example. You don't own clear title to your house, and suddenly nobody wants to work on your house. Grandpa or grandma died, and then you live in a house, nobody else's house. It's yours, but you don't have clear title. Somebody has to help you work through that before certain agencies and groups will help you. And so we have people that can assist you. That's part of the funding that we've received. So don't feel like there's any case that we can't take on. We will let you know if there's something we need to refer out. But you call the number. Don't limit yourself. Don't count yourself out. I always tell people, don't tell yourself no. Let somebody else do that for you. Yeah. And then when they do, don't accept no for the answer.
Hey, so I love that. And we're going to leave it right there. City council member at large, the lovely Amanda K. Edwards. Thank you so much for coming on Access Houston this morning.
Thank you so much. And I just, again, want to thank you for providing this platform.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. And thank you for listening to Access Houston.